Morning everybody. I hope you had a really nice holiday. I hope you've had a good time to relax, to not feel that stress of schoolwork for a while, perhaps be able to do some fun things. Anyway, I hope you're also ready to get back to whatever learning's going to mean for you for the next 2 weeks until we get the announcement on Monday. Let's see what happens to your lives after that. So we're looking at the life of Jesus, we're looking at his miracles, we've done a whole lot of healing miracles, and we're going to look at now some different kinds of miracles. This one you know really, really well, the feeding of the 5,000. So these 5 loaves and 2 fishes get multiplied to feed all these people. And I want to look today at 3 people. We're going to look at Jesus, obviously, Andrew, my favorite disciple, and we're going to look at the little boy who brings his lunch to be used by Jesus. Firstly, let's look at the context and look a little bit at Jesus. So, what you might not have picked up in your Sunday school versions of the story is the context when this happens. 2 things have happened before. Jesus wants not just to do the work himself, the ministry that God's given himself. He wants to train up his disciples. So at one point in his ministry, he sends out the 12 disciples to go and do what they've seen him doing. And they're really excited, and they come back and they just want to share with Jesus about all the things that have happened and what a wonderful time they've had. And Jesus wants to listen to them too. And the other thing is that the sad thing is that they've just had the news that John the Baptist has been killed. And, you know, this is Jesus's cousin, a really important part of his ministry. And Jesus obviously is very upset. And he just wants to go away and have some quality time with his disciples, with his friends. Unfortunately for them, the crowds are really excited about Jesus. His ministry is really popular, and they find out where he is, and they come round and they see Jesus and his disciples. And Jesus looks at them, and he's just got such a lot of love for them. He spends the whole day healing them and teaching them and ministering to them. And at the end of the day, you know the story. He's not just concerned about the big healing things. He's also concerned the fact that these people are hungry, and just tells his disciples we need to feed them. Anyway, you know that. So Jesus who's prepared to put aside all his own plans, in the time of his need, he's prepared to meet other people's need. He's not thinking about himself, he's thinking about others. And this is the Jesus that is concerned about every aspect of our lives, right down to us being hungry and the things that we need. Next thing I want to talk to you about, and this is going to affect our other 2 people, is something called Impostor Syndrome. Now, apparently, imposter syndrome can affect 70% of us at some point in our lives. So it's probably really important that we know about it and know what we can do about it. What is an imposter? Well, an imposter is somebody that comes into a situation and pretends to be somebody that they're not. So like you dress up as a doctor and you go into a hospital and you pretend to be a doctor. That would be being an imposter. Obviously very dangerous to do. But a lot of us have the opposite problem, that we are actually qualified. We do actually belong, but we don't feel that we do. So the opposite would be that you train for 7 years or whatever it is a doctor's trained for. You pass all the exams, you are a doctor, but you go into that situation and you think, I don't belong, I don't fit, I'm not what people are expecting a doctor to look like, and you feel that, feel very inadequate. It's a feeling of inadequacy. So how does this affect us? Well, it can affect us at any point in our lives. It might affect us going up to secondary school, for example, in a new situation. You think, oh, it's going to be so hard when I get to secondary school. I'm going to be absolutely rubbish. I'm not going to have any friends. I'm not going to be able to cope. I'm inadequate. I don't belong there. I still look like a kid, and I'm going to be with all those teenagers. You know, that kind of that kind of feeling that we could have, feeling that you don't belong. It could be when you finally get back to school, feeling like you don't belong anymore. Everybody else has been in school with the teachers for more time, or perhaps you haven't been doing your studies that you've been given and you're feeling like you're behind, and just feeling like you don't belong anymore. So what does this have to do with this miracle? Well, the interesting thing about this miracle is it's the one miracle that uses somebody else. Jesus doesn't do this miracle all by himself. Now, that's not because he couldn't. Of course he could. But he chooses to use this boy and Andrew to bring this miracle about. And I think that this has got really, really important things to say about who we are. Now, firstly, this boy is nothing special. He's a kid. I mean, and in this miracle, children don't even get counted in the 5,000. I mean, this kind of says a little bit about how important they are. They only count the men. The women aren't counted and the kids aren't counted. And yet it's his lunch that comes to feed everybody else. And I think basically Jesus is saying, it doesn't matter who you are, you just need to be the kind of person that wants me to use you, and I will do. You don't have to bring anything special. All he brought was, and it actually says they were these little barley loaves. These were like the most common kinds of bread, the kind of bread that you didn't need to go out and buy, that your mum would just rustle up in the kitchen in the morning. I mean, for the poor people, it wasn't anything that needed a lot of money. He had the most basic lunch possible, and yet Jesus used that to feed everybody. So it's not who we are, it's not what we bring, it's just the fact that we're willing to be used by God. He was the one person that said, Jesus, this is what I've got, and he wasn't making any apologies for it. He says, I don't know if you can use it or not, but I'm willing. The other thing about Andrew was out there with the crowds. I mean, just mingling amongst people. So he was the one that spotted this kid. He was the one that kind of had the face that was open enough for the little boy to go, hey, you're one of Jesus's disciples. Do you think he could use my lunch? Now, those two things are what will help us whenever we've got imposter syndrome. It's not about thinking about our own inadequacies. In God, there aren't inadequacies. There are just opportunities for God to show his power. And God just wants us to be looking around us, looking at other people. You go to secondary school, you think, oh, I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know whether I'm going to have any friends. You feel insecure. Well, guess what? Loads of other people are feeling insecure too. You say, God, here I am. I'm willing to be used by you. And you start looking and seeing the faces of other people. You kind of feel God's love for people. You decide to go out and say, hey, how are you doing? Looks like you don't have any friends. And they say, oh yeah, I'm the only person that's come from my school. Hey, well, come along and share my friends. You know, it's just that willingness to be used by God. And I think this is a really beautiful story. Also that willingness that Andrew shows to be out there amongst people, being the link between somebody, a need, and somebody that's got something to meet that need. And just bringing those two things together. The thing that the boy and Andrew had in common is that they weren't thinking about themselves, they were thinking about other people, and they were willing to be used by God. I think Andrew's a little bit like the person when you're in a football match that sets up the goal, passes it to the person that is going to shoot the goal, and the other person gets it in. It's kind of a humble position, but being being willing to be that person that is going to help and support somebody else to be used by God in some way. So those are our three people. Jesus' willingness to put aside his plans and love people and meet their needs. Andrew, the person that is there to make a link between the need and somebody that's got the provision, and that boy who doesn't care about how little he's got, but he's going to be there to help them. Just want to leave you with that challenge today. It doesn't need to be an enormous thing. You might think that what you do is tiny, but just those words of encouragement, just saying, just a smile sometimes, just noticing that somebody might need something. I always think it's fascinating in the service when the preacher or the pastor is preaching and he coughs and coughs again, and there's always one person that runs out and gets the glass of water so that the pastor can carry on preaching the message that God has given him. Be that person that notices somebody's coughing, they need a glass of water. It's not the big things, it's finding the little things. So just go into this week, whether you're at home with your brothers and sisters and your mom or whoever, whether you're at school, just be the one that is got your eyes open. You're just available for God to use. Do things, meet needs, say things, let your words be kind, and be that vehicle of being a blessing to people. Okay, that's all I've got to say for you today. I hope you have a really great week wherever you are, and see you later on Zoom. Bye.